You taste it before you open your eyes. It sits on the back of your tongue, warm and thick, the flavor of rotting flesh and old piss soaked so deep into the wood of your walls that the house itself has begun to breathe it back at you. You breathe through your mouth now. You have breathed through your mouth for years. It did not help. The smell has moved into your skin, under your nails, into the cracked creases of your knuckles, and no water in this town runs clean enough to pull it out. Your neighbors know you by it. They step off the path when you pass. They hold cloth to their faces and look at the mud until you are gone. Your own children were born already used to a father who reeks of the dead, who comes home with brown up to the elbow and does not wash because washing is pointless. Outside your door the pits wait, dark, still, their surfaces trembling with flies. 10 of them, 20, sunk into the earth like open graves, each one holding something that was recently alive and is now becoming something a rich man will wear. This is your trade. This is your heir. And the day has not even started. You are a tanner. You turn dead skin into leather. And there is no filthier way to earn bread in the whole of this century. They put you here on purpose. Not in the town. Never in the town. You live at the far edge, past the last honest house, downwind and downriver, where the current carries your stink away from the people who matter and drops it on the poorer fields below. You share this strip of mud with the other trades no one wants to smell. The butchers, the dyers, the fullers who soak wool in stale urine. The whole rotten end of the parish crammed together where the wind can forget it. A wall stands between you and the town. The wall is not to keep out enemies. The wall is to keep out you. You did not choose to be hated. You were born into it. A tanner's son becomes a tanner because no clean family will marry into the smell, and no clean guild will take a boy who carries it. The stink is inherited like a name. It closes around you before you are old enough to run. You remember being small and understanding, slowly, that other children did not smell of what you smelled of, that the baker's boy could sit anywhere, that the girl by the well would take water from every hand but yours. You learned the geography of your own town by the places you were not allowed to be. The church, where you stood at the back near the door. The market, where the good stalls turned their shoulders. The clean houses, whose thresholds you would never cross except to deliver and leave. A tanner is a citizen the way a dog is a member of the household. Useful, fed, never at the table. And you rose early because the smell of you was easier for the town to bear before it woke. That was the unspoken law. Do your loudest, foulest work while the good people sleep, and be a shadow by the time they are up. The morning begins at the delivery. A cart groans up to the yard, and on it lie the hides, fresh from the slaughter yard up the lane. Cow, ox, horse, goat, sheep, each one peeled from an animal that was breathing yesterday. They are stiff at the edges and wet in the middle, heavy as a drowned man when you lift them, and the underside still wears its old life. Ribbons of yellow fat, strings of muscle, clots of black blood gone to jelly in the cold. Flies rise off them in a single gray cloud when your hand comes down, and they settle again the moment you turn away. You drag the hides to the water first. A hide straight from the animal will rot to slime in days if you leave it, so the whole trade is a race against decay, a way of stopping a body from becoming a corpse. You soak the skins in the stream to soften them and to wash out the blood and the dung, and the water downstream of you runs a color that has no honest name. Brown, red, gray, all of it moving slow toward the fields of men too poor to complain. Then comes the beam, a great smooth log set at a slant, worn shiny by years of hands. You throw a soaked hide over it, hair side up, and you take the knife. Not a small knife. A long curved blade with a handle at each end, made to be pulled toward you with the whole weight of your back, and you begin to scrape. The hair comes off in wet clumps. It sticks to the blade, to your apron, to your forearms, and it smells of the animal and of the pond it soaked in. Under the hair, the skin is gray and slick. You lean and you pull and you lean and you pull, and the muscle of your shoulders learns a shape it will keep for life. One shoulder always higher, the spine always bent toward the beam. Old tanners are easy to spot in a crowd. They are the men who cannot stand straight. Flip the hide, flesh side up now. And here the knife does its worst work, because here you scrape away everything the animal used to live. The fat, the last threads of meat, the thin inner skin. It peels off in long gray curls and drops at your feet, and it will lie there rotting through the day, and by afternoon the smell of it will be its own separate weather in the yard. You work barefoot or near enough, and the scrapings gather between your toes, warm and soft, and you stop noticing this too. The knife has to stay dull in one strange way and sharp in another. Too keen an edge, and it cuts through the hide and ruins it, and a ruined hide is a month of feeding no one. So you learn the exact pressure, the exact angle, the exact drag that lifts flesh without breaking skin, and you learn it in your arms so completely that you could do it asleep, and some mornings you nearly are. A single slip and the leather is scored. A single slip the other way and the blade skates off the wet hide and opens your own hand. And now you have an open wound and you are about to put that hand into lime and dung. Every tanner carries a collection of old cuts that healed wrong, ridged and pale, a private ledger of the days the knife went where it should not. Beside you, your children work. They do not go to school. There is no school for a tanner's child, and no future that school would open. So the small hands learn the beam young, hauling the lighter skins, carrying the buckets, gathering the scrapings, breathing the same weather. This is the inheritance you pass down. Not land, not a name that opens doors, a curved knife, a stinking yard, and a place at the far edge of everything. You want to know how they got the hair to release so easily? Here is where the trade earns its reputation. Before the beam, the hides went into the lime. The lime pit is a cauldron sunk in the ground, filled with water and quicklime, and it burns. It burns the hair loose from the skin, and it burns everything else it touches. It burns the hide, which is the point. It burns your hands, which is not. Every tanner's hands tell the same story. The skin of your palms is white and thick and dead in patches, cracked into a map of split lines that never fully close, and the cracks weep a clear fluid that stings when the lime finds it again. Get a splash in the eye, and the eye may be finished. Half the old men in this trade squint through one good eye, and a milky ruin where the other used to be. The lime does not care whose skin it is eating. Cow or man, it works the same. You lift the hides out of the lime with a pole and a hook, dripping and pale and swollen, and the caustic water runs down the wood and over your wrists, and you have learned exactly how long you can hold before you must let go. Everything in this trade is measured in how much pain you can carry, and for how long. But lime is the clean part of the day. Now comes the part they built the wall for. The leather cannot stay stiff and raw. To become soft, to become something a lord will pull onto his foot, it must be broken down and remade. And the medieval way to do that is to soak it in things that came out of bodies. So you keep a pit of dog dung. You buy it. There are men, and there are children, whose whole miserable living is to walk the streets of the town with a bucket and gather the droppings of dogs, and they bring it to you, and you pay them for it. And the trade has a polite word for it, so no one has to say the true one. They call it pure. You call it pure. A pit of dog shit, and everyone agrees to call it pure. You mix it with water into a warm brown soup, and you lay the hides in it, and the bacteria in the dung eat into the skin and loosen its fibers and make it supple. You reach in to turn them, bare-armed, to the elbow. There is no glove that would survive this, and no glove you could afford. So it is your own skin against the pure, your fingers working through the mess to feel whether the hide has softened enough. It coats you. It dries in the creases of your knuckles, and you carry it home, and you carry it to the table, and you carry it, in the end, to your grave. And when the pure runs short, you use what every household makes for free. Urine. Yours. Your family's. A pot sits in the corner of the house and everyone fills it. And in the morning you carry it out to the pits, and you tip it in, warm and reeking of ammonia, because the strength of stale urine helps break the hide down further. Some tanners tread the skins with their feet, standing waist deep in a vat of urine and dung and water, walking on the spot for hours, the mixture sloshing warm around their thighs, working the liquid into the leather with the weight of their own bodies, hour after hour, barefoot. In that, think about your own worst day. Then remember that this man does this every day, and he considers himself lucky to have the work at all. If you had to stand one dawn in this yard, tell me which would break you first, the smell or the knowing that it never ends. Leave it in the comments. The river remembers all of it. Everything you pour out finds the water, and the water carries your day past every house downstream. The blood from the soaking, the lime from the pits, the dung and the piss and the loosened hair and the grease. The people below you drink downstream of a tanner, and they know it, and there is nothing they can do about it because you were here first, and the law put you here, and the law will not move you. Sometimes a town grew angry enough to write it down, to forbid the tanners from fouling the common water, to fine them, to threaten them. The fines changed nothing. Leather was needed more than clean water was loved. So the filth kept flowing, and the poor kept drinking it, and the sickness that rose from it was blamed on bad air or bad luck or the sins of the drinker, never on the pit at the top of the stream. If you can stomach the pure and the piss, do not click away yet, because the thing that will actually kill this man is not the smell. It is something in the hides themselves, something invisible, and I will get to it, because it has a name and it took tanners in their prime, and you should know what waited for them in a single bad cowhide. The tanning itself, the true tanning, comes last and slowest. You move the hides into pits of water and oak bark. The bark is crushed to powder, and it holds the substance that finally turns raw skin into leather that will not rot, and the process cannot be rushed. A good hide sits in the tan pits for a year, sometimes two. Layer of hide, layer of bark, layer of hide, layer of bark, stacked and sunk and left in the cold ground while the seasons turn over your head. You are not making leather for today. You are making leather you will sell long after you have forgotten which animal it was. So your yard is a field of open pits at every stage of horror at once. The soaking pit runs with blood. The lime pit burns. The dung pit steams. The tan pits sit dark and patient. And around all of them, the ground is soft with a paste of hair and fat and lime and shit trodden into a single gray filth that never dries. And you walk on it all day, and the flies walk on you. When at last a hide comes out of the tan pit, a year older, the work is still not done. It comes out stiff as a board and dark and heavy, and it must be dried slow so it does not crack, and then worked soft again with oil and grease and hours of stretching and beating and rubbing over a curved wooden stake. You pound it. You haul it back and forth across the edge until your arms shake. You rub tallow into it, animal fat, the smell of the slaughterhouse coming back one more time, and slowly the board becomes cloth, the dead becomes supple, and the thing in your hands starts, at last, to look like something a person would want. It is the only clean moment in the whole trade, and even it stinks of fat and smoke. You hold up a finished skin, and for one breath you can see why anyone bothers. Then you set it on the pile and reach for the next raw hide, still warm, still wearing its flies. People love to imagine the medieval craftsman, the honest artisan in a clean apron, holding his work up to the light, proud and dignified, a nobleman of the hands. Hollywood loves that man. He fits on a coin, but that man is a lie stitched over your face. The real maker of leather is not standing in golden light. He is standing knee-deep in a pit of rotting dog mess with lime eating his fingers, and he stinks so badly that the law itself has pushed him outside the walls of his own town. The beautiful belt on the merchant's waist began in a hole full of piss. Nobody wants to know that. You are the thing that everyone uses and no one will stand beside. If you want to keep standing in the parts of history that everyone else scrubs away, the filth under the fortune, subscribe and stay in it with me. And now the invisible thing. The hides sometimes carry a disease, a thing that lives in the animal and passes into the men who handle it, into the wool sorters and the tanners, and the ones who breathe the dust of dried skin. Later ages will give it a proper name and call it anthrax. This age calls it by simpler names, or by no name at all. You only know that a man can be strong on Monday, and coughing black on Wednesday, and cold in the ground by the following week, and no one can say why him and not you. A cut on the hand that will not heal and turns dark at the center. A fever that comes from nowhere after a day of good work. The trade kills quietly, and it kills without warning, and you have watched it take men you drank with, and you have learned not to ask who is next. The lime blinds you slowly. The bending bends you for good. The pure and the piss give you the sores and the fluxes that never fully leave a tanner's gut. And the leather, the smooth, clean leather you have spent your life making, goes off to a world that will never once think of the hole it came from. You have buried men from this yard. You have watched the strong ones go first, the ones who reached deepest and worked longest, as if the trade took the best of you as payment. A neighbor who cut his hand on a Tuesday and was raving with fever by the Sunday. The black spot at the center of the cut spreading like ink in water while his wife pressed cloths that did nothing. A boy who breathed too much of the dry hide dust and coughed until something in his chest tore. Nobody sends a physician to the tanners. A physician would not come and could not be paid and would have nothing to offer but the same helplessness you already own for free. You wrap the dead in cheap cloth and you carry them out past the pits and you go back to work because the hides are rotting and grief does not stop decay. Follow one hide out of your yard. It leaves you soft and pale and finished, and it goes to the cutter, and the cutter makes it into a saddle. The saddle goes under a lord who has never smelled a tan pit in his life. He sits on your year of labor and your ruined hands, and he thinks about the hunt. His gloves are tanned kidskin, thin as a whisper, and he pulls them on with 2 clean fingers, and does not feel the dog dung that made them soft. His boots are yours. His sword belt is yours. The fine binding on the bishop's holy book is yours, scraped and limed and trodden in filth by a man the church would not let sit near the altar. Everything a rich man touches to keep himself clean and armored and separate from the world was made by the dirtiest hands in it. The whole shining surface of the powerful rests on a pit of rot at the edge of town. It always has. If that truth landed harder than any history lesson ever did, leave a like. It drags this into the feeds of people who were never taught it. You will not live long. Tanners rarely do. The work ages you at double speed, so that a man of 40 here wears the body of a man of 60, stooped and squinting and short of breath, his lungs full of the dust of 1,000 dried hides. One day the fever comes, or the sore turns black, or the cough will not stop, and you lie in the same house that has breathed your stink back at you for 30 years, and you go the way all tanners go. They will bury you at the far edge, downwind, the way you lived. Even in death you are kept apart. And the leather outlives you. That is the last cruelty of it. The belt you made will still be holding up some other man's trousers when your name is gone. The saddle will still carry riders after your grave has sunk and flattened and been forgotten. You spent your one life turning death into something that lasts. And the something that lasts kept none of you in it. Not your name, not your face, only the softness, bought with your hands, worn by men who would have crossed the street to avoid you. There are other trades on this channel waiting to swallow you whole, other centuries with their own kind of rot. When you are ready to step into the next one, it is already here. You wake tomorrow before the light. You taste it again on the back of your tongue. The pits are waiting, dark and trembling with flies. You pull on the same stiff apron, and you walk out into your own foul weather, and you pick up the curved knife, and you lean into the beam, and the day begins the way every day has begun. Because the town needs its leather, and someone has to stand in the filth to make it. And that someone, God help you, is you.